introduce to you today's second guest speaker, Dr. M. Jadegowda, Associate Professor, College of Forestry, Ponnampet, Kodagu, a proud member of Soliga community, the tribe considered as an ethnic group which inhabits the range of Biligiri Ranga Hills. So far as I am aware, he is the first graduate from Soliga community. Sir obtained BSc in Agriculture, MSc AG, and PhD degree in Agronomy from GKVK, University of Agriculture Sciences, Bengaluru. Before joining the College of Forestry, Ponnampet in 2006, as Assistant Professor, Dr. Jadegowda worked as Education Coordinator in his alma mater, Vivekananda Girijana Kalyana Kendra, for a few years. At present, he is serving as Associate Professor in College of Forestry, Ponnampet. In addition to teaching assignments, Dr. Jadegowda has also shouldered various extension program responsibilities in the institution. Dr. Jadegowda has published more than 30 research papers in reputed journals, written books and book chapters, organized number of seminars, conferences, workshops, symposia, and handled research projects. He has visited a few countries, including Australia, South Africa, Ecuador, Thailand, to attend conferences and presented research papers. He has membership of various professional bodies and non-government organizations, to name a few: VGKK, BR Hills, Soliga Tribal Development Council, Orchid Society of India, Orchid Society of Southeast Asia, Singapore, etc. Dr. Jadegowda is felicitated by various organizations for his contribution to the field of science and society. He is the recipient of many awards, including Swami Vivekananda Seva Prashasti, a state-level award for the year 2004. He has rich experience in biodiversity and conservation, tribal culture, rights, and development. Dr. Jadegowda believes that where there is no tribals, there is no forest. Today, he will speak on orchids, diversity, restoration, and conservation. I invite Dr. Jadegowda to deliver his lecture.
Sir, you are muted, sir.
Over to Dr. Jadegowda.
Sir, you can share your slides.
And unmute also.
Unmute, sir. Unmute.
Yes, done.
Yeah, you can share your slides. Yes, done. Yes.
Share. Unmute. You can see? Hello?
No, sir. No.
One minute. Okay. Sharing. Presentation now. 1 minute.
You can also mail to us, sir, if there is any
Yeah.
problem.
1 minute. Is your entire screen is there? Yeah. Share.
Share and then you go for first present now, sir.
Yeah. Present now. I have gone for a present now. Then entire screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you
Now
go to share.
Share. Yeah. 4. Yeah. Now I got it. Yes.
Yesterday we did the exercise and he spoke for 1 hour.
Yeah. Yeah, respected Professor Shodha Madam, Professor Devaki Madam, and Dr. Vidya, Coordinator, Dr. Devaraji Gowda, and the invited speaker, Dr. Basavaya, sir, a distinguished professor, and Dr. Renu, and all the faculty members and the students of the College of Yuvraj College, Mysore. Today, I think so far, Dr. The inauguration address also highlighted various aspects of the importance of the Earth Day 2021, and Professor Basavaya also spoke about the importance of the Earth Day and bio-waste real wealth of Earth. That is actually being an agricultural scientist, we have been undergone many courses on soil management, waste management, and decomposition and various other compost processes. We have undergone many courses on that. It will be now I got some better idea again once again. And thank you, Dr. Baswaya, for your beautiful presentation. And since as Dr. Sharmini was talking about myself, I belong to a tribe known as Soligas in Bilgiriranga Hills. So we have been living in the forest for the last so millennia. We live with the nature. Like we are being conserving forest with three conservation ethos. One is living harmony with nature. Second, living simple living. Third, sharing system. These ethos are important for conservation. Since Dr. Baswaya spoke about waste and other nutrient management for the enrichment of soil health and bio wealth, so I will be talking about the landscape level management and conservation of medicinal plant, maybe the orchids. Orchids are very important at the moment. So as we know that the Earth Day was started in 1970s. At that time, before 1970, maybe 1700 to 2009 to 1900, there was some concept like the smoke was the prosperity. After 1960s, the American people, they have realized that there was a problem with respect to clean air and clean water. So people have started working on the environment management, environment conservation, and over the years, many NGOs and international agencies like conservation, nature conservation agencies, WWF, and many other international agencies are involved in conservation of nature, promotion of the nature conservation education, and even also involving tribal people in conservation of nature and natural resources. So today's talk, I'm going to talk about the orchids, how orchids are playing major role in maintaining the ecosystem, a part of the ecosystem. As I told you, the orchids, as you know that, so my topic will be in four aspects, orchid diversity, restoration and conservation. So first of all, let us know what is orchid. You must be knowing that most of the audience are botanists. I think they are well versed with the botanical aspects. Anyway, we will go some basic aspects of orchid. Orchid is a perennial plant, as you will know. It's a monocot perennial plant, and some of them are terrestrial or ground orchid. Most of them are epiphytic in nature. Waxy pollen, they are characterized by waxy pollen masses, minute seeds, bilateral symmetric flowers with three petals. One of the petals modified into a lip-like structure. These are the general definition of orchids. So the word orchids actually derived from Greek word, which means testicles. The orchid occur in every orbit except Antarctica. Taxonomically, this is one of the biggest number of species in the entire plant kingdom. Nearly 30,000 species are there in the system. So why we are giving more important for orchid conservation? What is the need of the orchid? Why? What is the so as of now, everybody talks about tangible benefits like floriculture, cut flower, potted plants, and vanilla, all those things. Vanilla orchid and also in when I went to some country like South American country, I found that nearly 200 species of vanilla growing in the wild in Colombian regions. So I was really amazing to see such a diversity in the Orchidaceae family. So in case of we are interested, I am as an ecologist, I am interested in the intangible value of ecos of the any for that point of view. See, as we are already aware, any plant has got five important intangible values like oxygen, carbon sequestration, water purification, pollination, and the recreation. These are the intangible values rendered by nature. So likewise, even in among the orchid, we can also that wherever orchids are there, they are the indicator of the ecosystem health and function of the ecosystem. And also presence and absence of orchid also depend on the ecosystem. The orchid also involve a kind of organism interaction like a mutualism, commensalism, and also pollination service. The orchids provide a lot of platform for the insect for pollination, and also one of the pollution indicators. They are highly sensitive to disturbances, and these are the important factors. We call it them intangible benefit, intangible service rendered by the orchids. So, in addition to orchids, I like commercial value and the ecological value, there are some ornamental value of the orchid. This is an orchid grown in somewhere in Assam, Syncostylis retius. We call it in Kannada Site Huvina Gida, which is grow. Based on this flower blooming, that season they are celebrating a festival known as Bihu festival, ornamental and cultural identity. One of the ladies adorn the flower of a Siteu Vinagara, Siteu. So this is the orchid is also one of the cultural identity. So this festival, the Bihu festival, Bihu means that Site, that whatever the Syncostylis retius are, it flowers during that time. Those say they celebrate a kind of newly harvested season, something like that. So the participants of Bihu dance in their cultural attire. And you must be knowing the orchids originated for almost 200 million years. Even after the Paleogenic era, Paleogenic to Mesozoic era, there was a story saying that these arcs are flowering pollens are occurring over the millennia. So there are so many orchids, like our famous Carolus linnaeus, you named Cypripedium, lady sleeper orchid. I'll show you those. And there are several scientists and botanists worked on orchid, Richard Salisbury, John Lindley, Charles Darwin, John Lindley again, Hooker, George King. And in India, there are own scientists, Brian Pradhan, Bose and Chatterjee, Abram and Vatsala, A.N. Rao, Egde, Pramila Patak, Santosh Kumar, TBGR, all are worked on the orchid conservation and they are known as orchidologists. So when you say a typical orchid plant, it will be having a flowers, leaf, main stem, aerials to kiki, the young plants. So this is the flower bud. So the different growth form of orchids are like epiphytic. Some of the orchids are nearly in India. We have 80% of the orchids are epiphytic, and only 20% terrestrial. So you can find the different types of orchid like epiphytic, terrestrial, lithophytic, saprophytic, etc. How they differ from other plants means in terms of leaf, root, stem, habit, flower, and pod. Also you can make out. So when you go for the leaf, this orchid has got mono like simple and monocot and have parallel venation. There is an orchid in the northeast, like Southeast Asia. It is known as elephant ear orchid. That orchid flower leaf is so large that is belongs to a Phalaenopsis orchid species. And with respect to stems are There is a great range of diversity in nature and structure of stem in orchid. They may be thin, wiry, tough, and rigid to soft and succulent. And you can say stem can be divided into one is sympodial and monopodial. In case of sympodial, the branches are arranged on the rhizomes, many branches. In case of monopodial, only one single branch is raised from a rhizome. That is known as monopodial. So there are some monopodial orchids like Vanda, and sympodial orchid like the dendrobiums and many other cattleyas and all. So stem will be like this is a sympodial stem. It has got multi-stem on the rhizome. Yeah, root is important. As you say that roots are very, very important. The roots are because they make nutrition through air. Through air only they'll take nutrition and water because their roots are very highly this one have got a very sensitive sensors, carbon like calcium sensors they observe and nutrients, and they have a spongy tissue called velamen. They are multi-layer tissues, spongy tissues, and their functions are efficient water use, uptake, nutrient retention, reduction of water loss, and avoidance of the excess heat, overheating, etc. So for the orchids, the important thing is roots. If there is no roots, no, you will not get any flower. So roots are very important, and there is that specialized root in the orchid is known as velamen. And with respect to the flower, this is what is important. In the flower, this is one of the beautiful flowers and one of the costliest flowers in the world, the orchids. So the orchid flowers as a bilateral symmetrically, they are bilaterally symmetrical. They are the 3 petals and 3 sepals are there. Among 3 petals, one of the petals modified into lip. So this lip area is made for the pollinators to land on that and go for pollination. And above that there is one, there is a andrecium and gynoecium, they fuse together known as gynandrium. So that is known as column here. This column is actually comprising of both pollen as well as anther as well as style. Both anther as well stamen, both it has got, and that's how they pollinate nature. This is the floral structure of the orchid. Yeah. So with respect to fruit is very, very important. In each, the fruit is known as capsule. In each capsule, you will find around 3 million seeds. So here there is a symbiotic association, a mutualist association between fungus and the orchid seeds. Orchid seed doesn't have any kind of storage nutrition, endosperm. So they need to take some source from the mycorrhiza. So mycorrhiza will in turn get from the, in turn takes amino acid and vitamins from the orchid, and that's how they are surviving. And when they associate each other in the air, when the dusty seeds spread in the air, the orchid may associate with these seeds and they start germinating. That's how natural germination is happening in the orchids. So there is also a relationship between, in addition to mutualism, there is a relationship between commensalism between the orchids and trees. So you know the commensalism is nothing but a relationship between 2 organisms. One of the organisms will benefit. The orchid will be benefited, but the tree is unaffected here. So this mechanism Hello? Somebody's disturbing? Is there any problem? Hello? Some disturbance is happening. Hello? Madam?
Sir, you can continue.
Now it is okay, sir. We just stopped it.
Okay.
Someone
This
else was doing some.
Okay, pollination strategy also very much, because most of the orchids appear like insects in order to attract the pollinators. That's how they are perpetuating their population in the nature. So one of the orchid in the in Operis speculum, one of the temperate orchid in European countries attract some bees, solitary bees in the nature. So bee will think that this orchid will be one of the partners. So they try to copulate. In that process, the orchid gets pollination. Even this must be knowing the Charles Darwin's orchid, Angraecium, he was observing that orchids and moth both co-evolve together because the style of the Angraecium orchid is so lengthy. So this moth is having lot of very lengthy proboscis. So in order to take the nectarine from the style, this moth is inserting the proboscis inside the orchid flower, and that's how the pollination of orchid is taking place in the nest. This was observed by Darwin. This is the moth. And even there is one leafless orchid known as ghost orchid in Florida. It has no leaves, but during flowering, they need a giant spin moth which always pollinate during night time. One of the Australian orchid also behave like wasps of that. So some of the wasps are deceived by this type of flowers, fruits, and they try to copulate, and that's how they are getting pollinated. These are the different mechanisms involved to perpetuate the orchids population in the nature. So this is the Indian orchid called bee orchid here. Some of the bees are pollinating here. They look like exactly the same flower. So pollination also happens. There is one more orchid, Cymbidium, also pollinates. Yeah, the humming bee is also pollinating the Brazilian orchids. Yeah, orchids are super survivors. They grow in the ground, mesophyte regions, geophyte region, epidemic regions, xerophytic regions of the different zones of the trees. So they are almostly seen in the mesophytic region. So there are so many orchid growing in different countries, like in a cigar tree orchid growing in some other country, and this orchid is growing on the Himalayan regions on wood, and this orchid is growing, a cattleya type of wild cattleya is growing on Rocky Mountain of Brazilian region, and this is another orchid growing in the Southeast Asia. This is also another orchid grown in the Southeast region. This orchid called Disa, found in South African orchid, found in the South Africa. These are the jewel orchids in temperate regions. Yeah. So this is lady slipper orchid. I told you in the temperate region. This is also temperate orchid growing in different landscapes. Yeah, this is one of the orchid growing in the Peru region. So far I was talking about the orchids and its characteristics and its behavior in the nature. So today I am going to talk about another 5 minutes about the diversity of orchids, which are you must be know India is known for a mega biodiversity center. And India also, in the world, there are 30,000 species of orchids. Out of that, 1,300 species of orchids are found in India. So here, yeah, of course. And in the world, there are majority of the orchids are growing in the tropical and subtropical regions. In some part of the temperate region as well. Nearly 30,000 species are growing this is one of the biggest, highest number of orchids, species of plants in the world. In India, we have orchid diversity is more in the northeast region. Nearly 900 species of orchids are occurring in the northeast region, like including Sikkim Himalayas, Trans Himalayas, and the northeast. And the second highest is in the Western Ghats, nearly 300 species in the Western Ghats region, and nearly 143 species are growing other in the Andaman Nicobar Islands region. So there are so many orchid species in the Western Ghats region. In Karnataka, we have around more than 170 species, and there are rare and endangered species of orchids. And in order to understand the diversity of the orchid in this region, because we are the forestry professors, we have to study the orchid diversity of the region by involving students. One of my students worked on the orchid diversity of the region. So This study was assessed the wild orchid diversity of this Kodagu region. And we have done a lot of work on that to study the sun. And this is the area where we surveyed. We surveyed six important areas: agroforest systems and all those things. Puspagiri Wildlife Sanctuary, Brahmagiri Wildlife Sanctuary, Talakaveri, Nagaravali National Park, coffee-based agroforest and sacred groves. These areas we have surveyed, and these are the area we made survey on these to study the diversity of the region. This is the orchid enumeration work that we have undertaken, and one of my MSc students worked on this. This is the design we made for analysis this one to assess the diversity. This is the diversity analysis index, mathematical index. Out of in our study, we come across nearly 56 species of orchids, epiphytic orchids in the Kodagu region, and their diversity is so amazing. See, there's so many orchids, like beautiful orchids which are not recorded here. So it will be a good thing for us, and we enjoyed doing that. And these are the three important iconic orchids like Trincostella Sitale, then Draupadi Dande, this one Limbo, Cymbidium bicolor. And these are the terrestrial orchids. Nearly 23% of around 22 species of terrestrial orchids we have observed in our area, which are really beautiful. The entire mountain was full of ground orchids in our area. There are like Ceteria, Pectalis gigantea, and Kelanthe. Because why I am giving more important on the view of Earth Day, the orchids are very important for the ecological functioning of the ecosystem. So their presence says that there is a original or fragile, the original ecosystem is seen over there whenever you see the orchids. And result says that there will be highest number of species we come across in Dendrobium, followed by Bulbophyllum, Hebenarium. Hebenaria is one of the ground orchid. So out of the 6 ecosystem, we found that Brahmagiri Wildlife Sanctuary harbors highest number of orchid diversity. Almost 50 species of orchid found in this area. So that is about the diversity aspects. Now I will talk about restoration. Today's today's Earth Day's theme was restoring our Earth. So let us know about what is restoration. Restoration is very important, So restoration is nothing but bringing the things in the original condition. So maybe sometime the ecosystem may be damaged due to deforestation and degradation and all. So how to re-establish them, regain the original condition is known as restoration. It's nothing but process of assisting the recovery of an ecosystem that has been degraded, damaged and destroyed. This is the concept of restoration. It is an intentional activity that initiate or accelerate an ecological pathway or trajectory through the time towards the reference time. So trying to bring the trajectory to original condition, that is the concept restoration. So restoration, there is one agency, international society called Society for Restoration Ecology in Washington DC, USA. They defined what is restoration ecology in 2000. Restoration ecology is the scientific study supporting the practice of ecological restoration, which is the practice of renewing or restoring degraded, damaged, and destroyed ecosystem and habitats in the environment by active human intervention. This is the definition of ecological restoration. Ultimately, bringing the damaged ecosystem into an original condition, functional condition, that is known as restoration. So recently I surfed on the internet and found that in Gulf of Mannar near Park Bay, in 2008 and 9 there was a damage. The mangrove ecosystem was completely damaged. So after restoration, 2 to 3 years, you see the difference. The entire mangrove ecosystem is restored here. This is the real purpose of the restoration. And among the orchids, some scientists in TBGRI, Jawaharlal Nehru Tropical Botanical Garden is situated in Trivandrum, Kerala. So they also established found some endangered orchids and tried to grow them in some other place. Earlier in 5 years ago, they planted this one tied on the trees, and after 5 years, the orchid established very well and re-established, restoration has taken place and started flowering. Like here also, there is one orchid called Papilopedilum, which is very much endemic to Augusta Malay region. So they have multiplied this and re-established into the natural area. So they are performing very well and recovering. There is one of the endangered orchids in South India. It's the only orchid found in South India, Papilopedilum. And even they also tried orchid establishing orchid plants on their conservatory in their farm. There are one type of orchid called Eulopia also conserved and multiplied and restored in the forest. So in the forest it grows very well. Yeah, the third important aspect that fourth important aspect that I'm going to talk about, the important conservation. Everybody knows is even since many students are involved, many of them from you are, I think they are all doing PhDs and masters. They can take up some ecological studies with respect to the orchid conservation and propagation or restoration work. This may help you. That's what I'm being a teacher. I involve myself visiting various places to study these aspects and came across many results now. So conservation is, in definition, I can conservation define as a planning and management of natural and man-made resources for maintaining and enhancing their quality and value-added diversity. That means that conservation is defined as planning and management of natural and man-made resources so as to rescue them and wide use of continuity of supply while maintaining and enhancing their quality, value, and diversity. This is the idea. So ultimately, conservation requires management, planning and management for the better utilization, sustainable utilization of the resources. That is the idea of the conservation. The objective of conservation maintains essential ecological process and to preserve the biological diversity, to ensure the any utilization of species and ecosystem, etc. You must be knowing that types of orchid conservation, like not only orchid conservation, there are other conservation also, like in situ conservation, ex situ conservation, Circassitum conservation, and in vitro conservation. Circassitum conservation, you might be knowing in situ conservation means the preserving or protecting the resources or the genetic resources in the natural condition, like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and in their original situation. Whereas ex situ conservation is conserving resources in the natural, like botanical garden and then orchidariums, conservatories like that. Then Circassitum conservation is the conservation of orchids in the managed ecosystem like agroforestry, which are the agroforest system having more of native trees. On that, many orchids are growing. So that is known as Circassitum conservation, agroforestry, homestead garden, etc. The in vitro conservation, as usually you know, through tissue culture. So in situ conservation area, we have visited here, natural vegetation area. You can see in Kodagu, lot of shola forest and grassland harbor, lot of in situ conservation area for orchids. Here, deciduous forest also harbor lot of orchids, and tree harbor lot of epiphytic orchids. You see, the entire mountain was full of orchid known as Cetarium nepalens, and the nepalens regeneration very high over there. And these orchid, evergreen forest also harbor one type of orchid called Calanthe sylvatica, which is a very beautiful orchid. And these are the orchids grown in the ex situ area, in situ areas. These are the in situ orchids grown in the in situ areas. Now, madam, shall I continue? Hello?
Please,
Yeah.
please, sir.
Yeah. So Circassitum conservation, as I told you, the orchids are conserved naturally in the managed ecosystem like agroforestry, home gardens, outside natural habitat, but with full of native trees. So some like in Kodagu, we have more native tree coffee plantation having a lot of orchids. This is known as Circassitum conservation. So here you can see a lot of orchids are going on that. Ex situ conservation, as usual, you know, conserving the plant genetic resources in the establishment of orchidarium, native orchid conservatory, and germ plant center, botanical gardens, etc. So this is the orchid, a small orchidarium we have made in our college, and we preserve around nearly 50 species of orchid. Out of 50, around 34 species of epiphytic and 20 species of terrestrial orchid. This is our orchidarium where we maintain orchid germplasm. Here we also have open orchidarium in our college. And the ultimate purpose is to conserve the plant genetic resources, especially orchid genetic resources, which are very important for the ecological point of view. So this is the thing. And we have maintained a number of accessions there. And nearly 35 species of terrestrial orchids and 20 species of ground orchid. I think here we have mentioned 20 species of ground orchid and that is 35 species of. In addition to College of Forestry, we also made a lot of ex situ conservation areas in BRLs. Also, we promote. One of my brothers is also involved in the conservation of orchids, and we also promote orchidarium and promoted the College of Agriculture, Shimoga. And orchidarium, and we also go and promote orchidarium in the Mangalore Pilkula Botanical Garden. And in GKVK, Bangalore, we have orchid collection center there in College of Horticulture Division. In Mudigere Horticulture Division, we have one orchidarium for, and in Kodagu, we have one more orchid collection center here. Central Horticulture is expressed in Chettadli. And in addition to native orchids, we also promote orchid cultivation for socio-economic development by using the hybrids. One of my colleagues, Dr. Kaviriyama, she is actually promoting this orchids cultivation. And there are so many students involved in field research. In addition to that, I have one more presentation. I'll just talk about the conservation. Like you see, cultivation also important. In addition to conservation in nature, by in situ, ex situ, and all those things, cultivating orchids also important. Cultivation means conservation because there are some endangered rare orchids which are almost threat of worse of extinction. If you are not preserving, conserve them, they may be lost by climate change or maybe encroachment or various other disturbances in the forest. So we have to bring them into the lab and try to cultivate them in the domestic way, conventional cultivation. So there are some steps involved. Orchid growing is very important. Water, air, nutrient, temperature, these are very important for orchid cultivation. Yeah, most of the orchid epiphytic are also be grown in the pots. I show you. Humidity also play a major role for orchid cultivation. Nearly 50 to 75% humidity should be there. And media important, very much important. Sphagnum, bark pieces, charcoal, all are important for orchid cultivation. Sphagnum is very important. Water quality also important. pH also important for orchids. So if there is high pH, then there is a deterioration in the soil. I mean, when you water it, the bud breaking will be taking place due to excess salt. So water quality is important for orchid conservation, I mean cultivation. The nutrient also play a major role for the orchid growing. Containers, very, very important. Wooden containers, branched wood pieces, plastics, these are very important for orchid cultivation. These are the containers, cultural requirement for various crops. We have Phalaenopsis, and this is the method that we can go. This presenter was made for some other occasion, but I'm just showing some of them. Yeah, these are the orchids, and in addition to that, mounting is very important. After the media, containers, and then mounting, how to arrange them is very important. Here you can see here. I'll show you terrestrial orchids. See, mounting them, arranging them. That is hanging, keeping them in a very aerated situation. That favors the orchid to grow. See, this is the one orchids grown in a different mounting posture. These are different mounting postures. See, mounting on trees. See how luxuriantly they grow. Pattern of orchid. This exactly they grow in the natural conditions. So the same environment you can grow here in Mysore University, there is one by name not Doctor Rajini Jaipal, madam. She's a orchid enthusiast. She's keeping a lot of orchids in her house. If you visit her house, you will see amazing diversity of orchids. Yeah, this is a orchid mounting you can do. Yeah, everybody, anywhere you can grow orchid, but only thing is you know how to mount them, how to put them media, what is the nature of container are very important. See, arrangement is important. So yeah. So yeah, this is how we are going. I mean, these orchids are growing in Switzerland mountains. Cypripedium orchid. And this last 2 slides, I'm going to talk about, tell about my visit. I've been to around 8-9 countries, but one of the visits in Latin America, Ecuador, there was a conference on World Orchid Conference 2022. 2021 World Orchid Conference. I participated and gave a presentation. And at that time, I could see a lot of orchid show over there. Met so many. See, there are so many orchid, like very huge flower orchid called Lycaste macrobulbum, and Phalaenopsis is one of the beautiful orchids and in the world, and it was arranged beautifully over there. See, I have been to one nursery called Eugenia Orchid Nursery that nursery runs in terms of kilometers. So that is the nature of production, level of production they take in the other countries, especially orchid productions. These are the orchid nursery I visited. Different orchid species displayed in the conference. This Cattleya exhibition got first prize. Yeah. And lastly, state orchid. Recently, government of Karnataka Biodiversity Board declared state orchid of Karnataka is the Vanda tessellata anta. Adake Bandalike antare. Banda Nike anta. This is the state orchid of Karnataka. And there are some legal issues with respect to international like CITES. You must be knowing CITES. CITES give a direction to import and export the orchids. IUCN has got orchid specialist group, and the Wildlife Protection Act also has some prohibition of cultivating, not cultivating the orchids. Wild orchids are not prohibited to cultivate because they are very endangered, like Vanda, lady slipper orchid. They are not allowed to cultivate, because they come under the Wildlife Protection Act. So I told you, Biodiversity Board of Karnataka Biodiversity declared Vanda tessellata as the state orchid flower in October 2020. So this is the thing. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. I really owe gratitude to Dr. Devika, Renu, and the principal of the college, Yuvraj College. Thank you so much.
I request the audience to ask any questions, if any.
They might have been exhausted to see a lot of presentations in a single. I might taken more than half an hour, madam. More than half an hour? How many minutes I took? Okay.
Any questions are there, you can ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, this is Renu. Sir,
Yeah.
I want to know, you have told everything about the aesthetic beauty of the orchid. Apart from that, is there any medicinal value of orchids that can be explained?
Yeah. There are a lot of places. There is one orchid called Validata valida and bulbo, especially bulbophyllum. Bulbophyllum species, must be known the pseudobulb, which is being used as a medicine for earache. Earache, they are using that juice of that particular one.
Okay.
Yeah. And even Dendrobium species of orchids are used for preparation of medicine for the stomach pain and stomach disorders. I have seen.
Okay. You said about the aromatic orchids. Are they being exploited for their...
Yeah, there are so many aromatic. Yeah. Like there is one Oncidium dancing lady. It is one of the aromatic orchid. orchids. And even in India, we have Aerides maculosa, one of the beautiful aromatic that people. I mean, now people are interested in orchids. Over the we have a Orchid Society of Karnataka, headed by one IFS officer, Karnataka IFS Sachitra Shastri. We have a Bangalore office, and anybody wants to become member of the Orchid Society of Karnataka, they can be a member. And there are even Rajini Madam in Mysore city in Vijayanagar first block. If you visit our house, you see a beautiful orchid. You cannot imagine that orchid can be grown in Mysore city. I was really happy to see that. And even she maintains some orchid in Karanjikola area. There is one small orchid collection center in Karanjikola. If you happen to go there, please visit there and enjoy that beauty. But yeah, that's the thing. Aromatic, some works are happening with respect to aromatic orchids. One professor from the Chandigarh University by name Pramila Pathak, she is working on that aromatic orchid and medicinal plant orchid, medicinal orchids and aromatic orchids issues. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, one more thing I want to ask is, as you all know, orchids are very slow growing
Yeah.
plants. So they are growing very slow, and how can we exploit for medicine? Like
No. There are some there are orchids available because medicine is very small. No, we cannot expect a large scale exploitation. Only is now in the ground experimentations, but there are some huge orchids also, huge bulb orchids. We can take them some portion sustainably, and we can go for that. No problem.
mainly are we using their flower part or root or stem or which
Some of
part?
them are tubers like pseudobulbs. Some of them are roots. Like there is one orchid called vanilla walkere. It is endangered orchid, grown in the. It doesn't have any roof, the parts. I mean, what you call the leaves. Yeah, they can be used. Yeah, I think 50% of the population is gone. I think it's almost end. I think anyway, good, very good.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Why
you.
can't commercial?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir,
Commercial,
for
commercial
enlightening
production of
us
orchids
regarding
can
orchids.
Yeah.
And now I request Dr. Guru Prasad to display a video created by him on animals and to speak on that for audience.
I think Guru Prasad is here. Since he is not there, and then there is time limit also for us, it's already time. So we would like to just share that he has created 2 videos, one on birds and one on animals when he went to Nagarhole. So the link for that video we are going to upload to the website. So it is going to be available public. So we would like to just to share that he has prepared. Our college faculty has prepared 2 videos on the natural resources available. So that way there is an awareness which is going to be created or which is created by him, and he has made some efforts. So we congratulate him for his efforts. So we would like to switch over to one more thing. That is, we have put one competition related to this Earth Day celebration. So sustenance of Earth, preservation of Earth, and the restoration of Earth. So all these things are so important. So we wanted to create awareness among students by entering into a competition. So some of them have done some beautiful posters. So we would like to just show few of them here, which will be evaluated later for the prizes also. We also have asked them to prepare some things out of wastes which are available, that also they have made. So we have some posters to be displayed over here in a PPT. Few of them we are going to display now. With this one, we are going to conclude the session on Earth Day celebration. So over to Sachin to display some of these posters which are prepared by our students. Sachin,
Yes,
over.
I'm just sharing the screen. So totally we have received 25 entries consisting of posters, drawings, and also some of the objects that are made from waste. So I'll just share a few representation images. Now you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So these are some posters, and the right one is some decorative object made from panels. This is one of the drawing, and this is a pen stand made from a waste can. And this is some decorative object made from the waste talcum powder box and a plastic bottle. And this is some nice hangings made from the burnt bulb. So these are the representation images, and we have received many other entries like the same kind of nature. So we'll be evaluating those entries and giving out the results soon.
Thank you, Mr. Sachin, for your presentation. Now, it is the time to conclude the session after hearing two illuminating and enlightening meaningful lectures. On behalf of the college and Green Audit Committee and Eco Club, I wish to express our heartfelt thanks to Professor Baswaya and Dr. Jadegowda for sparing their valuable time and sharing their thoughts with us regarding Earth Day. I also wish to express our thanks to all faculty members and students for making this a successful program. Thank you, one and all.